The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter.
Hello and welcome to Politics with GA. It's less than 3 months to the 2019 general elections, and the Independent National Electoral Commission has urged members of the public to ignore social media reports alleging it has given another opportunity for continuous voter registration before the 2019 elections. The Commission gave the clarification through its Twitter handle at INEC Nigeria on Thursday in Abuja. INEC described the report as untrue and advised the public to ignore it. You may recall that INEC commenced CVR on the 27th of April 2017 ahead of the 2019 polls. Although the exercise was suspended on August 17th, it was extended to August 31st after consultations with stakeholders. The Nigerian Election Debate Group and Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria have announced dates for the 2019 presidential and vice presidential elections debate. The presidential debate is fixed for January 19, 2019, while the vice presidential candidates are billed to have their debate on December 14, 2018. The chairman of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, Mr. John Momo, who is also the chairman CEO, Channels Media Group, made the announcement on Thursday at a press conference in Abuja. He said the debate would hold at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja, and will be broadcast live amongst all BON member radio and television stations across the country. The debate will also be streamed live on all mobile and social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to give it a global coverage. A former Minister of Education and the presidential candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, has called on Nigerians to insist that all aspirants for the 2019 presidential elections participate in a debate. Dr. Ezekwesili made the call at a debate in Abuja, hosted by the Osasu Show and supported by One Campaign Connected Development and Yali. The ACPN candidate was present at the debate, but the People's Democratic Party candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, sent his spokesperson, Mr. Segun Showomi, as his representative, while President Muhammadu Buhari did not attend and didn't send any representative. Dr. Ezekwesili, while reacting to the absence of the two major contestants at the debate, said, "How can we aggregate the Nigerian issues when those that are meant to be here are not here? It gives me an opportunity that, out of due respect for the Nigerian people, that I agreed to be on this panel today. When I looked and saw the two main parties, one is absent, the second sent a representative, his spokesperson, I could have become arrogant and say, I am not going to sit here, but I decided to stay out of respect for you. So let me make this clear," she continued. "In this election, every candidate must tell the Nigerian people what they're about. I have done this out of respect for you, but you would have to join me in saying Buhari must debate, Atiku must debate." End of quote, says Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. 3 members of the People's Democratic Party have been put under investigation for possible sanctions on account of their suing the party's gubernatorial candidate in Osun State election, Senator Ademola Adeleke, over alleged fake certificate. I did mention in the last episode of Politics with GA that PDP members Olalekan Woshiyan, Thomas Ojetade and Shina Awodire will be recommended for sanctions in accordance to the party's constitution. The zonal secretary of the party, Reverend Bumi Jenyo, who made this known on Thursday, also told journalists in Ibadan that the members had employed blackmail to destabilize the party for reasons best known to them. Reverend Jenyo, who said the zone would soon recommend the alleged culprits for disciplinary action, used the occasion to dispel the claims by Ojetade that he, Reverend Genyo, threatened him to withdraw from the suit they instituted against Senator Adeleke. The PDP scribe in company of all the witness to the peace accord, a senatorial youth leader, Osun East, Mr. Kazim Ogushola, claimed that Mr. Ojetade willingly agreed to withdraw the suit following a peace meeting initiated by the zonal chairman, Dr. Eti-Osa, and was never at any point pressured to do so. The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Lagos State, Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, has promised to probe Alpha Beta, the consultancy firm that has been solely in charge of the management of the state's internally generated revenue. Mr. Agbaje said apart from probing the Alpha Beta that has remained the state's consultant for 19 years, it would also investigate Lagos finances. Mr. Agbaje challenged the candidates of the All Progressive Congress, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to tell Lagosians if he would probe the firm or not. The PDP candidate declared, "The day of reckoning is near." A statement by his Director of Media and Publicity, Felix Obuagbina, quoted Agbaje as saying Sanwo-Olu lied by claiming ignorance that the APC regime had deliberately shrouded Lagos State's revenue and expenditure in secrecy. He says, and I quote, "Can Sanwo-Olu afford to bite the finger that fed him? The answer is obvious." And he says for Sanwo-Olu, who between 2003 and 2015 served as Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, and Commissioner for Establishments, Training and Pensions, to claim ignorance of this perfidy is to take Lagosians for fools. The battle for the Lagos State Government House is projected by analysts to be a two-horse race between the APC candidate, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and that of the PDP, Mr. Jimmy Agbaje. I spoke with Aremo Dotun Hassan, the Alliance for Democracy candidate for Eti-Osa Federal Constituency, about the state of Lagos and his plans for his constituency if elected as their representative. Lagos State is almost in an Hobeshan state since Governor Akinwumi Ambode lost his primary elections to Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. I'm sure you've noticed the increase in the volume of traffic, and it's thrown up severe hardship and discomfort for its residents. What is really happening in Lagos, and what can be done about this? Well, we have to be very holistic about the Lagos as a state. The effect of Ambode loss to the primary election, I don't think that has been the causation of what is happening in Lagos, because Lagos have been in a perennial situation of this nature for a very long time now. So the situation is just that there have been lost and there has been a disconnect on governance for some time now, because people can hardly see the face of our governor. In the scheme of things, it's more or less the political situation have really engulfed the governance, and that is really a very big issue to our institutions of government. Exactly, because one man shouldn't determine whether things should work or not. You have institutions. Definitely. When you know, we can really understudy the prelude to the primaries and what are the real issues that really came up. So, but at the same time, it's really going to be a very challenging moment for the ruling party in Lagos State, because it will find it very to convince the people enough based on the policy plan of the incoming candidates. So definitely it's going to be a very good, it will set a new pace, a new horizon, and thank God other political parties are also have nominated candidates. So yes, I'm sure it's more or less that the template now is a fresh template for everyone coming. So there's no power of incumbency. So, and quite unfortunately. So it means it's an open race? It's an open race. There's no power of incumbency. Now let's talk about you, Aremo Dotun Hassan. You're a lawyer, and you've been quite vocal, and you've been an activist when it comes to issues in Lagos. Now you're running for, you're the Alliance for Democracy candidate for the Federal House of Representatives, Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. Why do you want to go to Abuja? Why do you want people to vote for you, and what's your track record? Well, I think politics, to me, it's all about service. And I'm very keen
I'm passionate about humanity, about my people, about society, and Nigeria at large. And that's always been my constituent. So, and as a youth, I believe there's a new vision for us to begin to see how to develop our society. And getting involved requires your will. And that's what I'm bringing on the table. That's why I'm coming in, and that's one of the major interests that align with mine to vie for the House of Reps, Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. And as a lawyer, I think maybe probably before now, being able to understudy my people's plight, and I felt the pains. I'm part of the society. So many issues have come to the fore.
What would you say are some of the immediate problems facing the plight of the constituents of Eti-Osa Federal Constituency?
Well, just as I've rightly said, it's about the social justice right of the people. Looking at infrastructure, definitely Eti-Osa is a bedrock and the golden is the egg that is laying the golden egg for the state when it comes to issue.
Richest local governments in Nigeria.
The richest local government, but at the same time in code, that's one of the worst areas to live in somehow. Because
it's quite an irony.
Yes, because the Eti-Osa have gotten a history of neglect. And when you look at the people from the Morocco displacement to where they are now, so it took a whole lot of years before they even begin to experience light in all this area, like Ilasan and Ikota and so many other communities. So in the 21st century, if you still visit those communities, more or less like a slum. And it's even a slum. So it's very, very unfortunate that the government hardly pay attention into these communities. And that's why one of my key roles, which I've been playing in the time past, when it comes to their social rights, as you can imagine, we have 2 toll points that have really bring about more hardship on our roads and more traffic jam and all that. And it's resulted into a lot of other negatives. So these are issues that have been on the forefront challenging in time past. And for me to come out this time around, I believe I should be able to work on those rough edges, how to straighten it, how to get the people's will more represented at the federal level. And I believe strongly my coming in to fill those gaps is to ensure that the disconnect between the government and the people, we have a closer link. With my programs, I've been able to outline that I will run in an open door policy when it comes to my plans, and which I've been able to look at as a new dawn in Eti-Osa Federal Constituency.
Now let's talk about your party, the Alliance for Democracy. Do you think you have what it takes to go against heavyweights like the People's Democratic Party and the ruling All Progressive Congress in Lagos State? Because they seem to have the machinery and the financial muscle. Yeah,
historically, Alliance for Democracy is the foundation that laid governance as far as Southwest is concerned. As for, maybe predominantly Lagos itself. And the foundation upon which APC is resting on today started from the Alliance for Democracy. So it's not just a new party. So we are equitably qualified and competent, especially with the programs which I'm bringing on maybe to the fore. And I think it's the best. And I'll be letting you into some of my programs. One, on education. I've been an activist right from my university days, and every other time that there are strikes. Why do we have all these things? Because one thing, the educational right of the people, whereby the UN have a standard policy of 26% allocation to education sector. But that law has not been domiciled, and that's one of the major proposal bill which I'm working on, and that is the educational right law, is to give room for more to be placed, more funding to the education sector, so that the issue of ASU and every other
ASU is currently on strike.
Every other issue that escapulate that sector would have been solved permanently. Also, looking at the social justice right of the people, definitely from the way we have, that is what I've been able to devise that. Well, we have a lot of resources and every other thing, but I've been able to devise a law called the National Community Development Right Law. This law is to give room for every community, especially not just my constituency alone, but nationally, to give room that there must be resource control benefit for every local government, whereby resources that are generated in every local government, there should be some certain percentage that goes as revenue in order for us to complement developmental and infrastructural needs of the people. If that law comes to the fore, there will be variable achievement at the grassroots.
Like a sort of derivation.
Derivation. Also, I've looked at the youth segment. I've been able to understand the fact that we need a national youth development right law. This law is also to encourage our youth to build in that confidence in them and ensure that that citizenship right as a Nigerian that is bestowed inherently upon them is visibly manifested. And that's one of the key things which that law will be doing, to protect that which is which ought to be their right in terms of social welfare right and every other right that is enabling, that will enable an average Nigerian youth to develop. Also, we've been able to look at the need to abrogate the Land Use Act. This will not just come like a daylight thing. I've been able to come up with a solution, because land in Nigeria today and the way it's being programmed under the Land Use Act, it arrogates a lot of power to the governor. And we'll be coming up with the land licensing and allotment law. So
now let's assume you make it to Abuja, and I'm sure you're very confident about your chances. You do realize you'll be one of other 360 members from different political parties. You don't have executive power, so you need to form a critical mass before some of these bills can be passed. What type of strategy do you have in ensuring that you get the will of the people passed in Abuja, what the people of Eti-Osa federal constituency want? How do you make sure that you would achieve that when you get to Abuja?
You know, majorly as a candidate, I think my primus interest rests on my constituency. Then at a larger focus nationally as a rep member. So, my focal point, just as I rightly said, is centered on the people. I'm going there as citizen speaker. I want to ensure that majority of all this argument I'm putting to the fore will be reflected back to the people. Yes, I've been able to strategize a means of feedbacks of town hall meetings, of quarterly town hall meetings with my constituents and at the larger stakeholders with the means of ensuring those things which I'm working on are implemented to the latter. So these are going to be my technical measurement of gauging my achievements. So, but that notwithstanding, my policy plan, as I've rightly said, we are talking about provision of job employment opportunities for Nigerians, and so many presidential aspirants are now reeling out their programs of providing millions of jobs. But do you know one critical element that's going to provide those the job is power. If you don't have what I call the national power and energy right law, in order to ensure, power generation, the way it's been designed, we cannot develop. If we have enough power supply and the regulatory means whereby the right of the people, because now people are living in hardship on estimated bills, because the people's right at this level is not protected. Nobody is reviewing how the citizens are being protected as the final consumer of the same power. So if you need to generate the power, let it be we can reduce power generation to local government affairs. If every local government in Nigeria today generates at least 1,000 megawatts, we don't need all problems as far as we are concerned is half solved. Definitely, the woman in the market will use power, the artisans, even you and I, you will spend less on diesel and all these extraneous wastages and leakages would have been solved. So these are interests I'm going there to protect. So for my immediate constituency, there are petitions which I've already outlined that I'll be working on. The issue of Lekki toll gate. Definitely, I've been at the forefront of fighting.
You want the toll gates to?
Definitely, as an economist, definitely, if the toll gate is removed, that would have been the best thing to happen to the people of Eti-Osa Federal Constituency.
So you want the toll gates to be removed? Yeah.
If that would have been succeeded, if I can succeed on that, I think that's the best I will be able to offer.
Now let's look at some other issues before we round up. You also happen to double as the founder and president of the Yoruba Council of Youth Worldwide. Now the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, who happens to be a former governor of Lagos, was urging the people of the Southwest to vote for President Muhammadu Buhari in the 2019 elections to enable power shift to the region in 2023. As president of the Yoruba Council of Youth Worldwide, what do you make of this? And should we still be playing this politics of ethnicity in 2018?
I think I beg to differ with Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola on this point, because when competency and meritocracy is laid on the altar of mediocrity, we'll be reading out things like this. And Nigeria need not be too deceived again with this deceitful statement, because reality is already, staring us in our face that the economic plan, as far as this nation is concerned, is not adding value to the people. The people, from security to infrastructural needs, is as if the people are more like a spectator. The new trade money affairs and all the ways going about is not going to the root of solving poverty. We cannot continue to run our nation like an experiment. No, we need to be.
So appealing to Yoruba people's votes.
For me, let Nigerians not be too ethnocentric about.
They shouldn't get carried away.
No. Let's look at the competency, capability, and antecedents.
Regardless of what it promises, that power would shift to the Southwest in 2020.
Let me tell you one thing. There are two things in the media there. That power is shifting to the Southeast and power is shifting to the Southwest. What kind of nature is that? Is to set the Southeast and Southwest on a collision course. And at the end of the day, power will be retained to the North, because there have been, if both of you are still wrangling on who to take power, the power revert back to who is giving the power.
Now, I want to ask you a question.
To me, I would
We've been having this kind of politics. We've been playing politics of ethnicity since. Is there any benefit that accrues to one ethnic group if the president and the commander-in-chief comes from your region? If you look at Ota, you can't compare Ota to Singapore. If you look at Daura, you can't compare Daura to Dubai. If you look at Otuoke, you can't compare it to Berlin. So why do we keep playing this sort of politics?
You know one thing, we are really not addressing the issue where it ought to be. And one key thing which I've been able to outline, and it is a whole lot issue, and that is the issue of restructuring. We need a new people's constitution. We need a new people's constitution to fix this country. And one of my major and my #1 primary duty, which I've outlined, is what I've called a bill on National Restructuring Affairs Commission, and another bill that is the National Plebiscite and Referendum Act, that Commission Act. These two bills is to bring power closer to the people, to ensure that these inequalities that we have in the land, this internal wrangling that we have between the federal and the state and the local government cut off totally, there is a need for us to really sit down, analyze through this commission, whereby it's an annexure of the executive, but the commission formation itself will have representation from all the arms of government. It will have representation from 36 state governors. It will have representation from all the state assembly. Because the restructuring issue is not an a la carte, it's not a dash. It requires us to really sit back. How do we manage this exclusive list of a thing? If we are now managing the exclusive list and we are forming a new people's constitution, a true fiscal federalism, how do we begin to implement those white papers on confab? How do we implement those needs policy? How do we bring in the SDG goals? How do we even review the 1963
It's quite a lot of work, but it does start from somewhere.
Definitely, yes. That is why I'm going there to represent.
And on the foreign scene, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman arrived in the United Arab Emirates on Thursday as part of a tour of several Arab countries. This is his first trip abroad since the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi that caused international backlash. The prince is also expected to participate in a G20 meeting in Buenos Aires at the end of the month, which will be attended by the leaders from the United States, Turkey and European countries. King Salman asked the chosen heir, known in the West as MBS, to conduct the tour based on his keenness to deepen the kingdom's ties regionally and internationally, the Saudi press agency reported. The killing of Jamal Khashoggi, a Washington Post columnist and a critic of the Crown Prince at Riyadh's consulate in Istanbul 6 weeks ago, has strained Saudi Arabia's ties with the West and battered Prince Mohammed bin Salman's image abroad. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has pledged to work with a linked cabinet of ministers in order to cut costs of running the executive. President Ramaphosa, who announced the mini cabinet reshuffle on Thursday, said the merging of the ministries is the first wave and many more changes are in the pipeline. He says, and I quote, "We're going to look at realigning government, and in anticipation of the sixth democratic administration, we would have completed this work," said the president. President Ramaphosa also explained that President Ramaphosa also explained that he is assembling a cabinet that are committed to serving citizens and helping the country grow. He says, "In making these changes, I remain determined that cabinet of our nation should be an appropriate mix of experience and capability, as well as gender and generational mix, that it should have members who are committed to serve and do so selflessly." The president's claim, however, contrasts his decision to keep embattled ministers Bathilebile Dlamini and Nomvula Mokonyane in his cabinet. Thanks for watching Politics with GA. Until next time, I'm Gbenga Aborowa.
The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter.